So, sorry I can't be here. So, hope this video helps instead. Today, you're going to do a review because you have a test next week, a test on the summary writing we've been practicing. So, what you do need to do is open your Schoology and find today's post. In that post, there's going to be a text. It's quite a long text. You need to read that text. The questions are going to be on a Padlet. The link to the Padlet is in the Schoology post. Okay, so put your answers on the Padlet. And then after you've put your answers on the Padlet, return to this video, which you will pause, and you will then see the answers, and I will give you the next task. No point in cheating. This is your review. This is where you get a chance to make some mistakes. Once you hear the answers, I can sort of guide you, and that's how you're going to get a better score in the test next week. The questions we're going to look at are going to be the exact same types of questions that you will see in the test next week. Before you pause anything, let's talk about each of the questions. The first thing you'll have to do is to list key information from the text. Make sure that you have read the question very, very carefully, because it will ask you to list certain types of information and not other types. Okay, this is important to be very selective, because in IGCSE, when you're instructed to write a summary, you will be required to find key information that closely matches the instructions. There are a certain number of points that are awarded for a certain number of facts that you have taken from the text. If you choose other facts and put those into your summary, you won't be awarded points for those facts. The examiners are looking for the most relevant points. It's about how well you have read and understood the text and the question. Next question. There's a couple of synonyms that you need to give. Now make sure that your synonym matches the meaning of the word in the way that it is being used in the text. For example, if we take the word monstrous, if you just start thinking of what that means, okay? But it can have different meanings. It depends how it's used. For example, it can mean massive and imposing. You know, I looked up and saw that I was standing in the shadow of a monstrous government building, meaning its size and the fact that it's imposing. Or in a text, another text, it might say that he was an absolutely monstrous man who didn't get along with anybody. There, it's not talking about his size, it's talking about his appalling behavior. He behaved monstrously, for example. Some other questions ask you to explain the meaning. Now here, you don't only give a synonym. It says explain, so you have to explain. This is going to be a sentence answer, and you have to explain it in your own words. So again, read the text where the phrase is used. What is the writer trying to express? So don't only just give a one-word paraphrase or a short phrase. Explain it with a sentence. Now, soon, in a minute, you can pause the video, but not yet. So, when you're on the Padlet putting your answers, okay, here's an idea. How about after you guys have written your own answers on the Padlet board, yeah, it's a good idea for you to discuss the answers. Okay, don't discuss them first and then write them down, because after the discussion, everyone will write the same thing. Okay, everybody, you know, they look at question 1 and they put their answers on. And then after a minute or two, once everybody's had a minute or two to put them on, then you discuss which ones you guys think are more accurate. And look and help your classmates. Hang on a minute, you've written this. That can't be right because of X, Y, Z. Okay? Once you've put all your answers and discussed them all, that's when you'll return to this video and press play to hear the answers. But these questions on the Padlet, don't spend all day discussing them. Yes, you should all finish writing them and discussing them within about 30 minutes. Okay, that gives you plenty of time to write them and discuss them, because the next task is going to be a much longer task where you're summarizing, so give yourself plenty of time for that. Okay, so press pause now and go do the reading and the Padlet. Okay, you should have completed all of the questions and discussed them with each other. Now let's look at the answers. So question 1 wanted you to list key information that describes who Monty is and what he does. It also says not his specific technique for training horses. So if anybody is putting down, you know, the way he stands or what the horse does, you're wrong because you didn't read the question. Okay, so facts from the text. First of all, he's Californian. That's in the first sentence at the top. He is a horse whisperer. It had a few sentences about this, but to paraphrase it, he wears cowboy style clothes. He's gaining something of a reputation in the educational world. He has theories on non-confrontational human relationships. He is a big bear of a man with a gentle smile. His main concern, blah, 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 is all about the way that we communicate. There's quite a long passage there towards the end of the text. So here's one more. He is a charismatic, articulate, but modest man. So how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 here. Okay. Sometimes on IGCSE there might be 10 things. Okay, so you know, it could be 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the ones you should have. Okay. The next question 2, where you just have to give a synonym as they're used. So techniques, it's really talking about his methods, or it could also be looking at his skills, the skills he has at doing this. So it doesn't have to be exactly these words, but so long as your synonym has very close to these meanings, then you'll probably get a point. The next one was he's credited with. If your synonym means he is given recognition for something, or that he's been named as the person responsible, not just he is the person responsible, but he's named as the person or identified as this person, then you'd get a point. And the word acknowledges. It's either he notices the crowd's applause or the fact that he appreciates it. Sorry about my dogs barking. Question 3, you have to explain in your own words that what he looks the part means. So it could be something like, if somebody looks the part, it means they look as you would expect them to look. Okay, or because he is a cowboy and he looks the part, that means he is wearing clothes of a cowboy, as you as you would expect him to look. And it can also mean, in this case, he is dressed appropriately for his role. So any of these kind of meanings, you'll get the point. Question 5, explain in your own words our predatory ancestry means we put up with a lot more ill treatment before we run. Again, this is an explanation. Now, have a look at this. Because we are descended from hunters, and that refers to our predatory ancestry, we are descended from hunters, we will tolerate more maltreatment, which is another way of saying we will put up with a lot more ill treatment. It could be abuse as well. We will put up with a lot more abuse. We will tolerate more maltreatment before escaping, before we run. So it's just explaining it, the same meaning. We're not changing any meaning, but it works well because this phrase, we can basically use synonyms to do it, but it is still a sentence explanation. Now, the summary question. This is your next task. You need to write a summary using the information from the text. Now, it's the correct information from question 1 about who he is and what he does. Yes. So write this about who Monty is and what he does. Now, I've written on here about 120 words. Okay. Today, if you can put in all of that information in good sentences, and it only comes to 80 words or something, that'll be okay. But I don't want to see anybody using more than 130 words. 130 words would be, if you go above that, then you'll be losing points, okay? Just this one question is worth 15 points, okay? So we've collected the information, that we did that in question 1, and you've now checked whether you had the right correct information. Remember, synthesize it. Move the bits of information around so that they're in now a logical sequence for your summary. So you have to regroup it and reorganize it. This helps it to make sense when we read it out. Now, this is something everybody needs to work harder on, which is paraphrasing. Okay? Just as we saw in the last question about predatory instincts and things like that, I basically rewrote it just by using synonyms for everything. Okay? You guys, you mustn't be taking words from the text unless it's a proper noun, okay? You need to paraphrase, use synonyms. You should not have many words from the text. Once you finish writing it, if you actually count how many words have come from the text, if it's more than about 30 or 40%, then you probably haven't paraphrased enough, okay? Okay, you're going to be writing it in summary prose, so it has to be concise, no repetition. Use long, complex sentences with lots of different sentence starters. Again, this is where some people went wrong in homework recently. Some people, every single sentence started with that one about Zainab Badawi, it started with a year, like in 1968, in 1972. They all started the same. This would lose you a ton of points in IGCSE, and it will lose you a ton of points in this test, okay? Always start your sentences in a different way, and always you get more points for the longer and more complex they are. Okay, so that's your next task. Write about 120 words about who Monty is and what he does. And you can submit it. You can submit it onto the Schoology, today's Schoology thing. Add it as a comment. Okay.